Hello, hello, good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight for our next segment of For Real, where we talk about topics and matters of the heart. I am Minister Anita Kelly of AK Ministries, and I thank you for taking the time to join this segment tonight as we're going to talk about personal promises, how to be true to yourself. Um, AK Ministries is a ministry uh, birthed from my heart, and my motto is cultivating gems, letting the you shine through. Because I believe that if we deal with the matters that we have in our heart, we can openly communicate about them. It will allow us to see the beauty within ourselves and allow us to see that we're never alone and we're not the only person that has ever gone through certain situations. And the enemy will make you feel like you're the only one and will keep that shut up inside of you. And so the real beauty that you possess on the inside, sometimes we have a problem bringing that forth. So through this ministry, I'm very transparent. I try to just share things that I ponder in my heart, and so hope that it will help you to relate to something that you may be encountering in your life. And so to see that, we're all overcomers. We can overcome anything. We just have to continue to move forward, talk about persevering, and just keep pushing forward. So I hope you enjoy this segment tonight. Just wanted to share some things. One thing about me, I have always tried to just be true to myself. I have always tried to set goals for myself, even as a teenager, as far back as I can remember. Certain things that I would see in the lives of others, I would actually refuse that in my life. And so there were certain things that I would see, and I would know that I didn't want to have any parts of that in my life. And so I held myself accountable to the promises that I made to myself. We make promises to other people, but you ever made a promise to yourself? And so those promises that I made to myself actually helped me to navigate through life. It helped me to make choices and decisions because I had already decided some things that I wanted to see take place in my life. So anything that tried to come up in my life that would take me off that course, then I had strength inside to reject those things in my life. I decided that as a young kid, I saw what gossiping would do to others, how it hurt other people when some folks would sit around and talk about people, and they get wind of it, and I was able to see how people would get hurt behind just folks gossiping about them. And so I decided that gossiping would not be a part of my life. You know, I despise gossip. I don't like people bringing gossip to me, and I don't like to sit and talk about anyone else. Not where it's negative and where it could affect somebody's life. So God had placed that in me earlier to be considerate of others, in the decisions that I make. And so growing up, I began to have this little list for myself, not what I expected to see in other people, but things that I wanted to come from me. And so I had started with this list. So I put out a message a couple of days ago, and I had asked you to start compiling a list of things that you may have promised yourself. And so, with that list tonight, I hope that you're willing to share some of the things that you have. I really want to dialogue with you tonight. I'm asking you to let's use this feed. I'll be watching it close, and I'll be answering. And I have this program on a couple different feeds, so it may take me a minute to get to you, but please, let's be proactive tonight. Yes, let's use the feed. And I would love for you to share some of the things that you have made promises in your own life concerning yourself. And then we want to see how well we may have done with these things. Some things you may have accomplished, some things are still ongoing, and some things you may have had to tweak. Because sometimes we make these promises and they're based on what we're thinking, but we don't have all the facts because our life has not run through certain situations, maybe at that point. So some things we have to tweak along the way, and that's okay, because these are promises that we make to ourselves. I promised myself that I would not be a drug addict. Did I have the opportunity? Absolutely. Everybody had the opportunity to become whatever, good or bad. I could have been an alcoholic. I could have chosen to be a drug addict. I could have been a prostitute. I could have been any of those things. But there are certain things I said that my life was going to be at a certain standard because of who I am and who I wanted to become. So, and what God had placed inside of me. So I'm just going to share some of the things that I placed on my list and maybe try to explain some of them. And then I'm going to give you some encouragement, But in the meantime, please use the feed. Let's talk about it tonight. Send me some of the things that you have on your list. For real, for real. It's always a comment that I like to see. If it's something that you can, something that on my list that may even be on your list, and you want to talk about it, let's do that. So one of the things I said, because I grew up in a 3-bedroom home with 1 bathroom. So I told myself that I would never have 1 bathroom. Never, ever again. So see, these are easy things. Some things are not so hard, So I told myself that. And I'm going to tell you that not one apartment I had just 1 bathroom. I was determined that I was always going to have at least 1.5 or 2. It was always going to be more than 1 bathroom. Because growing up with 2 older brothers, a mother, a father, like we always had a cousin, someone else staying with us. I had a sister, and all of us had to share 1 bathroom. There was this issue of privacy. There was none. You didn't have any privacy. If you were in the tub and someone needed to really use the restroom, they're going to come right in, and they're going to use the restroom while you in the shower, And so my mom, they would say, don't spend so much time in the bathroom. So the showers had to be, pretty quick. You couldn't really take time to dry off and dress in there. So everybody knew what every other person's body looked like because we were streaking across the hall. My bedroom was right across from the bathroom. So always dashing in the room, with a towel on to run in there to finish drying off and, to get dressed. And I just say, there has to be a better way. So that promise that I made to myself, I did good. Check mark. I kept that. I never had just 1 bathroom after I left my mom's home. And I made that promise to myself, and I kept that promise, and I meant that. And so another thing I said is that I would always own a vacuum cleaner. Now, I was the oldest girl in the house, so I had many chores. And the main chore, of course, was to keep Mama's house clean, right? My sister was 5 years younger than me, so, I had the bulk of the work. So we had carpet in all the rooms, in the hallways, and all the main areas, and it seemed like every time we got a vacuum cleaner, it just didn't hold up. It just didn't work. But it didn't mean that the floor didn't get clean, because I had to sweep that house, and I had to sweep the rooms and the hallways and the main areas of that house. For years and years, Mom seemed like she could never find a vacuum cleaner that would hold up. But as long as I was there, she didn't see the need to have it. But when I left to go to school, and so that left my mom and my sister. By then, my sister, become like a teen. So what happened when I come home to visit on one of my school breaks? Mom had a vacuum cleaner. I said, what you doing with this vacuum cleaner? Oh, we had to get the floor clean. I said, so all these years I swept the floor, it was fine. Soon as I leave to go off to school, then you find a vacuum cleaner that works. Probably because my sister refused to sweep like I did. She was very spoiled. So, nevertheless, I decided that I would never just have a house without a working vacuum cleaner because I had swept so much carpet that it was enough to last me a lifetime. So, check mark. I did pretty good with that one. Then I said I would not smoke. Why was I so determined not to be a smoker? I despise, and it's just me. It's my opinion, is my me. And the reason why I hate cigarette smoke is because my mother and my father were both smokers. They both smoked. He smoked Winston, she smoked Salem. All their friends smoked. Everybody came over smoked. Well, who had to clean up the house? So who had to empty those nasty ashtrays? That's what it was to me as a teenager. They were nasty ashtrays, is what I called them. I couldn't stand to hear the butts hit the trash can. It just, it just like that did something to me. I hate that. And then I would have to clean the ashtray to get the ashes out with the furniture polish and the rag. But that was enough to tell me that I didn't want to continue doing that. So I decided that I would never be a smoker because I could not stand what was left behind it. And so check mark. I did pretty good. That was a great smoke blocker for me. I did not pick up that bad habit. So now it gets good. I saw a lot of promiscuity. I saw a lot of women having babies and they were not sure who the daddies of these children were because, they were messing around with more than one person. Well, I never really understood promiscuity because I've never chosen that in my life, but that's just me. I'm just kind of like, if I'm with you, I'm with you. If we're in a relationship, we're in a relationship. And so I didn't see the need to have to sneak and do all these things. But if it's okay, I'm just talking about me today. I'm not here to, to bash anyone. I'm just talking about me, things that I promised myself. So I decided that I would always know who my baby daddy would be, and I made a promise that I would not be laying down with more than one guy during certain periods of time. As I said, if I'm with you, I'm with you until we're not together anymore. So if anything came up, a little baby bump came up during that time, at least I would not have had any question about who my baby's father would be. But that was a promise that I made to myself because I saw how the children end up getting hurt behind that as they grow up, and it still had not been determined perhaps who their father is. And so a lot of kids grow up without knowing who their father is, and a lot of times because their mom made some mistakes early in life and just were not honest with them. So I would tell you, if you find yourself in that, if you have some children, you're not sure who the father is, as early as you can before these kids can talk and understand things, get that stuff worked out. Fess up, own up to the mistakes that you made. We human, we err, we do that. We err, we just mess up sometimes. So, just own up to it and get these things corrected before these kids grow up and start asking you questions. And so they have a right to know who their father is. They have a right to know who their mother is. There are a lot of issues, in your genetics, maybe having some kind of health condition or some kind of OCD issues or things like that. And you're not sure where they come from because you don't know that other part of your family. So I'm just going to encourage you, if you're in a situation like that, get it resolved as soon as you can. But it was a promise that I made to myself that I would not find myself in that position. So that means I had to be strong and be careful about who I, choose to give myself to and when I choose to do that, so that I will make sure that I will not run into these critical issues in life because of choices and decisions that I would have made. So I have another check mark there. I did pretty good with that. I have 3 children by the same man, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm not bragging, but I'm very proud of that because it was a personal promise that I made to myself, and I was able to keep that promise. So, check mark. I did pretty good with that. I've already talked about not being a gossiper, and so with that, I'm found to be trustworthy because I'm not going to sit and I'm not going to let someone else sit and talk about other folks that are not there. They're not there. They can't speak for themselves. So you just keep that. If you're not giving me something encouraging or something that this person has done that has made a tremendous impact on something, or something good, some accomplishment they made, don't sit here and tell me they junk. If they don't want to share it with me, then I guess I don't really need to know it. You know what I'm saying? So let's just be careful where we put our mouth, and just be careful. Make promises to yourself. And you are accountable to the promises that you make to yourself. And they're important because they speak to your integrity. They speak to your integrity. So this was another one. I said that I would not get pregnant after 30 years old. And I would always say whatever babies I had to come before I was 30. Because I was closing my own shop at 30. Because it was personal goals that I had set for myself. Giving time in my life to raise my children. They got my best 30s and they got a lot of my 40s. But I wanted to be in a position by 40 where I wasn't in need of a babysitter, of a babysitter. I didn't say a teen sitter, but a babysitter. I didn't want to be changing diapers and making bottles when I was 40 for my own kids. You know what I'm saying? So, but that was my personal promise. And so I'm not coming against anybody that may be late bloomers or you just haven't start having children and you're getting close to 40. I mean, God bless you, and that's wonderful. And so it could have been me. I'm able to check that box. But if I had not found a decent young man, I would probably still would have waited. So if you have been able to put it off and wait, for your own personal reasons, those are your personal goals. And they're absolutely okay. This is not a guideline to life. This is just some things that I had wanted or did not want in my life. So, and this one I find is very important. Number 7, I believe, for me is that I would not lose myself in marriage or motherhood. I made a promise to myself that I would always be in tune to me. And I met a woman a couple of years ago, and she was about to retire. And she had a husband, and she had, some adult kids by then. And so we were having this conversation. She said she was getting ready to retire. I say, well, God bless you. That's good. What are you going to do now? She said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? You don't know? What? I said, what are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? What do you like to do for you? And she said, I don't know. Because she had spent her life being the wife, being mommy, but she didn't take time out to be herself. I promised myself that I would not lose Anita with Nathaniel, and I wouldn't lose Anita with my kids. I was always going to be in tune with something that I enjoy doing. Great mother, great wife. But I tell you what, there are some times that I just want to take myself out to dinner. There are some times that I just might want to do some arts and crafts. What do I enjoy doing? So maybe I couldn't do it as often as I wanted to. But I made sure that I took some time for me to do some things that I enjoy doing that I would not forget the hobbies that I have, some things that I really like to do. I didn't want to lose myself, because one thing about life, kids are young, they grow up, they become teenagers, they graduate from high school, they go off to college or take a trade or whatever, they move out, they grow up, they start making their own decisions. Your husband has his hobbies. I haven't seen many men that give up fishing, give up hunting, give up playing pool. I haven't seen many of them that don't find time to do some of the things that they want to do. So why would you not do some things that you want to do sometimes? Because some people think it's selfish, but it's not selfish. You got to love your own self. You have to be able to entertain your own self. You have to be true to yourself and know what you like and then do some of the things that you enjoy. Now, my family, my daughters, my husband, they don't enjoy doing a lot of the things that I enjoy. I like to perhaps go sit at what is it, like a tea shop, sit down and have tea and have those little, those little sandwiches and, go to a tea, go take cake decorating classes, you know, and those are not things that they enjoy doing, but guess what? They don't try to stop me from doing some things that I enjoy doing. They like, go ahead, you need to do that. So it's just promises that I made to myself. Even today now, we empty nest and the kids are gone. My husband has his hobbies. He work, he fish, and so when he wants to go out, he go out. I don't stop him, because one thing we realize is that we have our time together and we have our time apart. So he does the things that he enjoy. I do the things that I enjoy. We do the things together that we both enjoy doing together. And so what happens is now life, is fuller, is complete. Then I don't feel like I'm trapped, that I can't do some of the things that I want to do. I have a sewing machine. If I want to, sew a project, he's not going to try to say, what are you doing now? And he'll just smile, you're doing, because he realized that I'm doing something else that I enjoy doing. So what I'm saying is you got to be true to yourself. And so I hope you're putting some of your personal promises that you made to yourself in the feed, so that we can talk about them, we can dialogue. And I'm going to be responding, I'm going to be answering, and I'm going to be looking. So I'm going to tell you, don't lose yourself. Be true to yourself. Continue to do the things that you enjoy. They should not be things that cause conflict in your life or in your family. I'm hoping, that they're not things that cause conflict. If it's a conflict because you're doing something that you enjoy, then we're going to sit down and we're going to have a meeting of the minds, and I'm going to help you understand why these things are key and important for me to do, as far as fulfilling some of the things that I have on my heart. Life is to be fulfilled. Life is to be enjoyed. And so we should be doing that. And so we have to be true to ourselves. Sometimes you just may want to be alone. And I don't think that's all bad. My husband and I take little excursions. We used to go somewhere every quarter. But since the pandemic now, we haven't really gone too many places. But then there are times that, and I ask him, do you mind if I take this weekend and just go? There's some, I just need to be alone, And so, and he'll say, that's fine, because I need to do the same thing. So we can agree on some things. And so I'm glad that we're able to understand that. This does not mean that I have a problem with you. This just means that I need some time to get myself together. Maybe we've been busy, maybe things been going on, and so I have plans and goals that are not being met because I haven't given it sufficient time to think through it all and get my planning down. So I'm feeling like I'm boxed in. So if I feel that way, I'm so happy that we built a relationship that I can say, I need to take a few days. And I need to go, to a hotel for a few days just to be undisturbed. And so we understand that, to thyself be true. Sometimes you just want to go where somebody's not in your ear dictating what you're doing and why you're doing it. Maybe I'm doing it just because this is what I want to do. Do I have to always answer to somebody? You know, and so I hope you guys are taking this the right way. You know what I mean? But sometimes, because I'm a thinker, and if I have all this going on and somebody questioning everything that I do, I got to get away from it, because what it's doing is causing conflict within me, and I can't deal with internal conflict. I got to get it resolved. So if it means that I need to go sit, and I go sit at a restaurant, I like sitting by water. And so the way the world is now, you can't go too many outside places by yourself, sitting at the beach and things like that, you know, unless someone really knows where you are, you know, and everything still be wise. I'm not saying out of sight, out of mind. No one knows where I am. That's not what I'm saying. Someone always needs to know where you are, you know. But sometimes I can just go sit by the water. I find me a restaurant that's waterfront, and make sure that I'm sitting out so that I can look out. And sometimes that's all I need, a nice little lunch by myself, pampering myself, sitting out on the water, ordering what I want, you know, and just how I want it without offending somebody, because I wanted something ordered a certain special way, and or I wanted this and it costs a certain thing, and so sometimes you just don't want that. Sometimes you just don't need that. To thyself be true. Know what you need and go after just what you need. And so I want to share, I always have to share something biblical with what we're doing, because my basis is I have a spiritual basis. And so I try to do things that God would be pleased with, and making sure that when I'm doing it, that my mindset is right, that my attitude is right, you know, and these things. So I say, well, what is a good lesson when you want something, you know? And so you sometimes you have to go to God and you have to ask God to help you. Well, I'm hoping that's what you do all the time. If I back up, that's really step one. You want something, and we have to make it a practice of asking God to help you. You know, He tells us to plan and these things, but He wants to be in the process of that planning. So there was a woman by the name of Hannah. Hannah was barren. That means she could not bear children. The Bible said God had closed up her womb. Well, she was a wife of a man named Elkanah, and he had another wife named Peninnah. And back in those days, they were able to have more than one wife. Well, Peninnah was able to conceive and bear children for Elkanah, and Hannah's womb was closed by God, so she couldn't bear children. But the other woman was more like a bully, just tried to make her feel as bad as she could, you know, bullying her because she couldn't have children. It wasn't her fault that her womb was closed. God had done that. So, but Elkanah loved Hannah. Didn't say that he loved Peninnah, but he loved Hannah. And he always made sure that Hannah was taken care of. But there were some things in Hannah's heart. There was something that she wanted so bad. And she was so tired of being bullied by this Peninnah. So what she did was she went to the temple, the synagogue, sanctuary, and she began to pray. And she began to ask God to open her womb and to bless her with not just a child, but she was specific, learning how to pray a specific prayer. And she asked God to bless her with a male child, and that if He would bless her with this male child, that she would give that baby back to Him. But she wanted the pleasure, she wanted the accomplishment of being able to bear a child for her husband. So in the process of time, and I'm, you know, just trying to get through to the end, but in the process of time, the priest Eli, you know, he blessed her, and he told her, you know, may God grant what you request. You know, they had a little dialogue. Well, so it happened. The Bible says that she got pregnant. She was able to conceive, and that she had a male child. And so God had answered that prayer that was on her heart. And so that was the promise that she made was to God. But the part about it was she had to make sure that she did what she said, that she kept her word with God, because she had promised God, if you do this for me, God, then I will give this baby back to you all the days of his life to serve you, God. And so the test comes when God answers your prayer and you have made a vow to God, and God answered that thing, that vow that you asked him to. Can he trust you to do your part? She could have said, I love this baby so much, I can't get this baby up. And the Bible talks about making a vow to God and not keeping it. That's a bad thing. It's not a good thing. There are repercussions to that. And God could have told her to just keep the baby, but sometimes God tests us with the words that come out of our mouth. So if you have vowed to God, there's something that you really want and you ask God to do it, and God grant that unto you. Can you check off that you did your part? Come on, for real, for real. This woman had to give up a baby that she longed for because she promised God that she would do that. And guess what? After she went through the weaning stage with that baby, she birthed that baby. She weaned him. And when she got him where, he was able to eat on his own, then she took him back to the priest Eli and left him there and said he's to serve God all the days of his life. So she was able to check off. God met the request of her heart, and the vow that she made to him, she was able to check off that she did it. Be true to yourself. Don't vow to do something and it's really not in your heart to carry it out. And so it happens. A lot of times people say, well, if I get this money, I'm going to give you thus and so. Okay, you didn't ask for it. It's something they say that they would do. That's fine. So, but when they get it, then we have no more discussion about that. All of a sudden they get amnesia and forget what they said. But the Bible tells us to be careful in the things that we vow. Don't make a vow and not be able to check it off, because it's just better that you don't even make the vow than to make it and not fulfill that vow, the things that are entrusted in your hand. So what are some of the personal promises that you have made for yourself? Were you able to check it off? And if not, why? Let's revisit some of the reasons why perhaps you were not able to check it off. Now, the things I had were really based on things that I had chosen for my life. As I got family, I made other promises, personal promises to myself, and what kind of mother I would be, what kind of wife I would be, and these kind of things. And so I feel like I did pretty good because I'm able to check off some things. Now, yeah, there are some things in life that, like I said, as a teenager, I could make those choices, but as an adult, sometimes life takes on a different direction. But those things that I had were about me and my integrity and things that I choose for my life. You can't say someone made you get high. I don't like that, and I don't accept when people say they can't make you do it unless they put a gun to your head. Then that's different. You made that choice to pick up that cigarette. You made that choice to continue drinking. You made that choice to be with, different people. No one make you do that. You have to be true to yourself. And so if you are having some behaviors that you're not sure why you're repeating them because they're not good behaviors, then sit down and think about it, where it all started. What's going on the inside? Surrender that thing to God so that you can get yourself in a better place. Make some promises to yourself about yourself. It has nothing to do with anybody else. And it's not really a list to be displayed. I just thought that I would share because, I sit and I think and I ponder things. And so I find that it is very important to be true to myself, you know. And so that way I'm not swayed by what other people do because I got my own goals, you know. I got my own agenda. I know what I'm after. I know what I'm trying to accomplish. Amen. So if I can encourage you today, Philippians 4:13 says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Yes, you can. You can do it. If you made promises to yourself and you broke those promises, go back to the drawing board, write them down, revisit them, and you can still achieve those goals. Those are your promises, your personal promises. Nobody can take from you. And just remember that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. And another scripture that I want you to hold on to is be anxious. The word of God says, be anxious for nothing, but by everything with prayer and supplications, what? Let your requests be made known unto God. You feeling anxiety is going on? Take them to God. Because the Bible tells you that anxiety, can cause depression. But it also say out of many anxieties that you may have, the Bible says that God will deliver you from every one of them. So you don't have to say that you're so anxious about things. Settle down. Settle down. Settle your spirit down. Be anxious for nothing. Take time and give these things to God. Get your personal promises in line. Be true to yourself. Nobody can make you do anything that you have already promised yourself that you're not going to do. Make promises to yourself and hold your own self accountable to what you want to do in life. You can do it. You can do anything with the help of God. Don't be persuaded by what other people are doing. Go by your list of things. Be true to yourself. I'm telling you, you can't give your everyday to other people. Take time out to yourself. I'm so glad that people talking more about self-care. It's okay to pamper yourself. There is nothing wrong with that. It only becomes a problem when you do that and you got bills to pay and you spending money that God has given you to take care of your business, and you have misappropriated those funds. Now, that's a whole different thing, and that's a whole nother segment. But this segment is about being true to yourself. And I hope that we can dialogue. I'm looking at the feed, and I'm going to start responding to some of these things. And sometimes, even when I go off live, hang on to the feed because I'm still there. And I'm still there to answer questions. I'm still there to reach out to you. If I can help you in any way, please reach out to me. I hope that personal promises, be true to yourself, help you to stop and look where you are and make sure that you are taking care of yourself and you're being true to the promises that you made to yourself. Because when you let others come and take you off track, later on down the road, you're going to feel defeated. Later on down the road, you're going to see that you have perhaps made some mistakes. Sometimes people say, I've lost myself. You lose yourself when you give up too much of yourself. Make some promises to yourself and hold yourself accountable. If Tuesday night is your night, Tuesday night is your night. And so you don't have to be communicating and talking to folks. That can be your night to do whatever it is that you want. I'm here to tell you that that's not selfish. I'm telling you to stay in touch. Stay in tune with who you are. Because I'm Anita Kelly, cultivating gems, letting the you shine through. I want to see you shining, ladies. I want to see you shining, man. I want to see you be the best you that you can be. And the only person that can make that happen, guess what? Is you. May God bless you. May God keep you until next Monday at 8 o'clock for our next for real session. So we're going to be dialoguing now about personal promises. I want to see what your promises are, and we're going to talk about those. So hang on on the feed. Let's talk. May God bless you. Minister Nita Kelly, AK Ministries, for real. God bless you.